Hallo Deutschlerner! I'm Herr Antrim, and in this German grammar lesson I will teach you how to use the two-part conjunctions, sometimes also called compound conjunctions or Doppelkonjunktionen. By the end of this video, you will be an expert on all of the German two-part conjunctions and can test your knowledge either in the comments down below or via the worksheet that is available on my website via the link in the description. This video is sponsored by viewers like you. If you want to be awesome like these people and support this YouTube channel, you can do so via the link down below where it says join. There you can become a channel member on this YouTube channel. Or if you prefer, you can go to patreon.com/Mr. L. Antrim. By becoming either a channel member or a supporter on Patreon, you get access to worksheets, MP3 downloads, and more. First, we need to define what we're talking about. What are two-part conjunctions? Well, as the name implies, they are conjunctions that are used in two parts. That's a terrible definition. How about they are words that connect other words, phrases, or clauses, but require you to put one piece in one half of the sentence and another piece in another half? That's a bit wordy, but at least it's more precise. Basically, these are words that we use in two different parts of a sentence to connect words, phrases, and clauses within that sentence. Luckily for everyone involved, most of these conjunctions are considered coordinating. That means that they don't change the word order. The most difficult part about using them is knowing where to put them. Once you have that down and you know what they mean, you can use them with no problem. First up is the combination of entweder and oder. In English, we use either and or. This conjunction connects two or more options and sets them up so that you can only have one. You know, like that Venn diagram that shows you your options as a student. Good grades, enough sleep, or a social life, choose two. In order to use this conjunction and others on this list that are also coordinating two-part conjunctions, you put entweder, or whatever the first part is, in front of the first option or the first half. Then you put oder, or the second half of the conjunction, before you start the second option or the second half of the sentence. You can use these two parts to introduce an entire clause or simply a word or two. Let's start with a couple of words. Ich möchte entweder einen Fox-Terrier oder einen Schäferhund. I would like either a fox terrier or a German shepherd. Hätte entweder gern einen Tee oder einen Kaffee. He would like either a tea or a coffee. When you use a two-part conjunction to connect two complete clauses, you need to have each part at the beginning of the respective clause, meaning that the first half of the conjunction goes at the beginning of the first half of the sentence, and the second half of the conjunction goes at the beginning of the second half of the sentence. For example, entweder du stirbst als Held oder du lebst lang genug, der Böse zu werden. Either you die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. Harvey Dent. Entweder schreib etwas Lesenswertes oder tue etwas Schreibenswertes. Either write something worth reading or do something worth writing. Benjamin Franklin. An alternative version of this quote could be Schreib entweder Dinge, die lesenswert sind, oder tue Dinge, die schreibenswert sind. Either write something worth reading or do something worth writing. Benjamin Franklin. In this version, you see that entweder isn't at the beginning of its clause. This is due to the special nature of entweder. I can put it at the beginning of the sentence or just after the verb. I could have said it with entweder as the first word and it would have still been correct. Just don't forget that while oder can be used on its own, entweder cannot. It must be used in conjunction with oder. You can have more than two options with entweder oder. For example, ich möchte entweder einen Hund, eine Katze oder einen Goldfisch. I would like a dog, a cat, or a goldfish. Entweder du räumst dein Zimmer auf, du spülst das Geschirr oder du reinigst das Bad. Either you clean your room, you wash the dishes, or you clean the bathroom. Next up is the negated version of entweder oder, weder noch. In English, we simply add n to the beginning of each word, and now we have neither nor instead of either or. In German, we remove the ent and swapped oder for noch. The end result is the same. You have several options, but you can't have any of them. This usually is limited to just two options, but just like entweder oder, you can have more than just the two options. Here are a few examples of it in action. Ich habe weder eine Katze noch einen Hund. I have neither a cat nor a dog. Möchte weder Kaffee trinken noch einen Keks essen. He would like neither to drink coffee nor to eat a cookie. Wir dürfen weder ins Kino gehen, noch in die Disco, weil ich Hausarrest habe. We can neither go to the movies nor to the club because I am grounded. Wer sich weder durch Lob verführen, noch durch Tadel in Verwirrung bringen lässt, der besitzt großen Herzensfrieden. Great tranquility of heart is his who cares neither for praise nor blame. Thomas à Kempis. Literally speaking, who is neither led astray by praise nor is allowed to be brought into dismay by reproach, he has great tranquility of heart. Weder noch also does something weird. If you have two full clauses that you want to combine, weder pushes the subject to the other side of the verb. This happens with adverbial conjunctions, which is a topic for next week. This basically says that the adverb is acting like a conjunction, which means that it pushes the subject to the other side of the verb, just like any other adverb. For once, the English word order actually mirrors this, and therefore pushes the subject to the other side of the verb as well. For example, weder darf ins Kino, noch kann es ihm leisten. Neither can he go to the movies, nor can he afford it. Weder arbeite ich heute, noch muss ich in die Schule. Neither do I have to work today, nor do I have to go to school. On the other end of the continuum, we have nicht nur, sondern auch. This combination means not only, but also in English. It indicates that both the first thing and the other thing are true. Unlike the conjunctions mentioned so far, the nicht nur part of the sentence does not start with nicht nur. Instead, you put nicht nur after the verb in the first clause. Sondern auch is also a bit odd in that it can be split with extra words in between sondern and auch. You do start the second clause with sondern, however. Let's start by combining just a few words and work our way up to full clauses. Hat nicht nur einen Hund, sondern auch eine Katze. He has not only a dog, but also a cat. Trinkt nicht nur einen Kaffee, sondern auch ein Glas Wasser. He isn't drinking just a coffee, but also a glass of water. Wir fahren nicht nur in die Stadt, sondern kaufen auch ein. We are not only driving into town, but also shopping. Sie bringt nicht nur Wein für meinen Eltern, sondern gibt den Kindern auch Schokolade. She is not only bringing wine for my parents, but also bringing chocolate for the children. How do you know where to put auch? Sometimes it's next to sondern, but more often there are a few words between sondern and auch. How many words? Is there a limit? The auch in these sentences acts kind of like a placement for nicht in other sentences. If you reword the clause into a standalone sentence with nicht, you can find the placement for auch. For example, wir kaufen nicht ein. We are not shopping. Wir kaufen auch ein. We are also shopping. Sie gibt den Kindern nicht Schokolade. Or sie gibt den Kindern keine Schokolade. She isn't giving the children chocolate. Sie gibt den Kindern auch Schokolade. She is also giving the children chocolate. A synonym for nicht nur, sondern auch is sowohl als auch. It still translates as not only but also in English, but there is a very subtle difference between the two. Nicht nur, sondern auch indicates a sort of standard versus surprise or unusual juxtaposition, whereas sowohl als auch means that both things are the same. The difference in English could be expressed by the difference between nicht nur, sondern auch, not only but also, and sowohl als auch, as well as. For example, sowohl mein Bruder als auch meine Schwester haben blonde Haare. My brother as well as my sister have blonde hair. If you switch the brother and the sister in this sentence, nothing happens, nothing changes in the meaning. Sowohl meine Schwester als auch mein Bruder haben blonde Haare. My sister, as well as my brother, have blonde hair. If you try to switch them when you're using nicht nur, sondern auch, you change the meaning ever so slightly. Nicht nur mein Bruder, sondern auch meine Schwester haben blonde Haare. Not only my brother, but also my sister has blonde hair. My brother was expected to have blonde hair, but it's somewhat surprising that another family member, namely my sister, also has blonde hair. Nicht nur meine Schwester, sondern auch mein Bruder haben blonde Haare. Not only my sister, but also my brother has blonde hair. Sister was expected to have blonde hair, but it's somewhat surprising that another family member, namely my brother, has blonde hair. The difference can be more striking in other situations. The examples previously didn't really make much of a difference, but it would make a big difference in the following example. Ich führe sowohl meinen Hund Gassi als auch meine Katze. I walk my dog as well as my cat. Both parts are equal, and it's not surprising that either of them are being brought on the walk. If you switch the dog and the cat, nothing meaning-wise changes. Ich führe nicht nur meinen Hund Gassi, sondern auch meine Katze. I don't only take my dog for a walk, but also my cat. It's pretty standard to take your dog for a walk. Cats, on the other hand, aren't big fans of leashes, so this is a bit odd. Therefore, we used nicht nur, sondern auch. If you switch the dog and the cat in this example, the difference is much bigger, as people don't normally walk their cat. Generally speaking, you can use sowohl als auch, where you could use und, which is why it's not very common to see full clauses connected by sowohl als auch, and why you didn't see any in my example sentences. Next up is zwar aber, which basically is like, yeah, but. It indicates the first thing is true, but there is some additional information that is needed to contextualize this information. Here are a few examples. Zwar habe ich genügend Geld, aber ich möchte es nicht ausgeben. It's true that I have enough money, but I don't want to spend it. You could also move zwar to the adverb position. Ich habe zwar genügend Geld, aber ich möchte es nicht ausgeben. It is true that I have enough money, but I don't want to spend it. Zwar kann ich Deutsch sprechen, aber ich bin kein Deutscher. It's true that I can speak German, but I am not a German. Ich kann zwar Deutsch sprechen, bin aber kein Deutscher. It is true that I can speak German, but I'm not German. This time I move not only the word zwar, but also the word aber. This is not necessary, but again possible. Moving zwar or aber simply makes it a stylistic choice and has little difference on the meaning. If you start a sentence with zwar, you are drawing attention to the it's true part of the sentence. If you move zwar, it could be better translated in English by adding vocal emphasis on the helping word. Sometimes this is a form of being, but it can also be a modal verb, like in these examples. Ich kann zwar Deutsch sprechen, aber ich bin kein Deutscher. I can speak German, but I'm not a German. Ich habe zwar genügend Geld, aber ich möchte es nicht ausgeben. I do have enough money, but I don't want to spend it. When you move aber, it's more like adding the word however to the English translation. Ich kann zwar Deutsch sprechen, bin aber kein Deutscher. I can speak German, am however not a German. Ich habe zwar genügend Geld, möchte es aber nicht ausgeben. I do have enough money, wouldn't like to spend it however. There are a few ways to compare and contrast the clauses that are in a sentence. The first on my list is einerseits, andererseits. This is mostly related to the English on the one hand and on the other hand. For example, einerseits brauchen wir Lehrer, andererseits wollen wir sie nicht gut bezahlen. On the one hand, we need teachers, but on the other hand, we don't want to pay them well. Einerseits finde ich sie ganz nett. Andererseits kann sie manchmal nervig sein. On the one hand, I find her quite nice. On the other hand, she can be quite annoying sometimes. You don't always have to have einerseits in order to use andererseits. It can be used as a normal adverbial coordinating conjunction. This means that the subject is pushed to the other side of the verb when you use andererseits at the beginning. For example, du hast vermutlich recht. Andererseits könnte einfach Hallo sagen wollen. You probably are correct. On the other hand, he could just want to say hello. You do have to have andererseits in order to use einerseits, however. While einerseits can't stand on its own, you can put both einerseits or andererseits in an adverbial position in the sentence and the conjunction still works. For example, wollte sich einerseits berühmt machen. Andererseits hat sein Publikum sehr genervt. He wanted to make himself famous on the one hand, but he annoyed his audience a lot. The combination of einerseits and andererseits is great for showing the two sides of an argument. Einerseits sollte seine Hausaufgaben machen. Andererseits sagen seine Eltern, dass sein Zimmer aufräumen sollte. On the one hand, he should do his homework. On the other hand, his parents say that he should clean his room. If you want to say that sometimes an event goes this way while at other times it goes that way, you need the word mal, twice. On its own, mal generally translates as once or sometime. When you put it at the beginning of each clause, it pushes the subject to the other side of the verb and shows the contrast between sometimes this and sometimes that. For example, mal bist du der Vogel, mal der Wurm. Sometimes you're the bird, sometimes the worm. Mal ist mein Sohn sehr süß und lustig, mal schreit nur. Sometimes my son is very sweet and funny, other times he just screams. Mal höre ich Rockmusik, mal höre ich Rapmusik. Sometimes I listen to rock music, sometimes I listen to rap music. Along the same lines is tiles. This one is another conjunction that simply repeats itself, but instead of sometimes, tiles means partly or in part. Again, it's used like an adverb, meaning that it moves the subject to the other side of the verb if you use it first. But it's also possible to move tiles to a normal adverb spot. For example, teils war der Film interessant, teils war langweilig. The film was partly interesting, partly it was boring. Mein Frühstück besteht teils aus Cornflakes, teils aus Milch. My breakfast consists partly of cornflakes, or cereal, partly of milk. All of the conjunctions so far for today have been coordinating conjunctions, meaning that they don't change the word order, or they're adverbial conjunctions, meaning that they move the subject to the other side of the verb. The last few that I want to talk about today are subordinating conjunctions that are split into two parts. The first of these is by far the most common of them, je, desto. This is a weird one for me to translate, as in English it simply means the. It's followed by a comparative form of an adjective or an adverb. If you don't know what the comparative and superlative forms of adverbs are, I have explained those in a different video linked in the description. You can also probably figure out what I mean in the next few examples. Je mehr ich esse, desto dicker werde ich. The more I eat, the fatter I become. Je früher ich aufwache, desto mehr Arbeit kann ich erledigen. The earlier I wake up, the more work I can get done. Je älter ich werde, desto weniger weiß ich. The older I get, the less I know. Notice that the verb goes after the comparative form in the second clause. This is why werde is after dicker. When a subordinating conjunction is used in the first clause, as je is in these examples, the conjugated form of the verb in both clauses is next to the comma in the middle of the sentence. But since we have two parts to our conjunction this time, we have to put the conjunction first, which then has to be followed by its comparative form of the adjective, and then our verb. So the word order is first half of the subordinating conjunction, in these examples je, subject, whatever is after that in the sentence, conjugated verb, comma, second half of the subordinating conjunction, in this case desto, comparative form of the adverb or adjective, conjugated verb, subject, and then the rest of the stuff in the sentence. You can switch out desto with umso without changing anything in the meaning. Je schneller ich fahre, umso höher ist die Möglichkeit, einen Strafzettel zu bekommen. The faster I drive, the higher the possibility of getting a ticket. Ich mag Kekse. Je größer, umso besser. I like cookies. The bigger, the better. Du musst mich von der Schule abholen. Je eher, umso besser. You have to pick me up from school. The sooner, the better. The last one on my list for today doesn't really count in my opinion. It's simply a combination of a subordinating conjunction and a coordinating conjunction. You saw me use this last week and didn't even notice it. It's the combination of ob and oder. It's best translated as whether, ... or. Here are a few examples with it. Ich weiß nicht, ob der Hund einen Knochen im Garten vergraben hat oder ein Eichhörnchen meine Pflanzen gefressen hat. I don't know if the dog buried a bone in the garden or if a squirrel ate my plants. Muss mir es erklären, ob den roten oder gelben kaufen möchte. He has to explain it to me if he would like to buy the red one or the yellow one. That's my list of two-part conjunctions in German. Some are simply coordinating conjunctions that are split in two, which do not affect the word order. Others are adverbial conjunctions that push the subject to the other side of the verb. The last group are subordinating conjunctions that push the conjugated verb to the end of the clause. If you want to practice what you've learned here, you can find a link in the description for a worksheet that is on my website, germanwithantrim.com. You can find that, of course, in the description. Das ist alles für heute. Danke fürs Zuschauen. Bis zum nächsten Mal. Tschüss!